Speaking of that women's locker room, we're about to get the first of two women's matches, singles contests, I should say, that are the semifinals of our NEW Women's Championship Tournament.
What a way to start it off, too. One of the most decorated female talents to ever set foot in a Vancouver wrestling ring. Nicole Matthews has been a champion everywhere she's been. And you know she's wanting to add first ever NEW Women's Champion to that impressive resume.
I don't mean to overstate it, Jordan, but I think if you look at the pairings coming into this little title tournament, Nicole Matthews has to be considered a heavy favorite.
Absolutely.
Largely considered perhaps to be the uncrowned champion in the women's division by the fans on hand. But she's got a tough test ahead of her. They don't come much tougher than a legend in women's wrestling. She's in the final year of her legendary career. The farewell tour for Sumie Sakai comes through Vancouver with the first appearance in NEW.
And what a treat for these fans to be able to see a legend like Sumie Sakai wrestle. This is incredible. Sumie Sakai, a legend in Japan, essentially a legend everywhere she walks into a room. She has, she might be small, but she's got an air of dominance around her, which I'm very excited for this match. This is going to be nuts.
I know that Nicole Matthews very excited as well. The moment this match was announced, Nicole taking to Twitter to say just 3 words: let's effing go.
And we're about to.
Colton G calling for the bell as these two will shake hands. A nice show of respect to get this started.
And interesting to note, Sumie Sakai, a former Ring of Honor Women's Champion.
Some fierce competitors in that women's division in ROH over the years. That really says something, that she was the champion for that company.
And in order to get that championship, she had to win a tournament.
Very familiar with the circumstances she finds herself in right now, as Nicole perhaps working that size advantage early in this one. It's not often that Nicole Matthews gets to tower over an opponent. But she's putting her power on display here in the early stages of this one.
What Sumie Sakai lacks in size, she more than makes up with her experience. What a career.
Nice little reversal from Sumie Sakai to turn the tables on Nicole, as she thought she was in firm control early on. And Nicole turns those tables right back. It's the Lazy Susan right now.
And we've seen so many different styles from Nicole Matthews so far in NEW. She's had some brawling matches. She's had some great technical match wrestling. I mean, that match with Daniel McCabe back at NEW 1.
We could talk about that match all night. An outstanding showing as Sumie takes a seat in the front row, trying to catch her breath and hope she just blends into the crowd right now. Shaking out her wrist.
She is a shining star and a bright international talent. There's no way she can blend in anywhere.
Catching her breath, perhaps.
Claiming not to understand the count. A little gamesmanship from Sumie Sakai here.
Something perhaps being lost in translation as this Japanese legend is taking her time getting back in the ring.
Would have liked to see Colton G, when he got this assignment, learn how to count to 10 in Japanese.
Of course, well, in Japan it's a 20 count, Jordan, so maybe Sumie thinks she has more time than she actually does.
Ah, yes.
Sakai getting back in the ring to some trepidation. And it takes a lot of charm to get the crowd on your side in Vancouver when you're taking on Nicole Matthews. But Sumie Sakai, for what she lacks in stature, has a very outsized personality.
Calling for a test of strength here against a much larger Nicole Matthews.
It's not going well for her thus far. A underhanded stomp from Sumie Sakai.
And now all of a sudden the size advantage to Sumie Sakai.
Did a little dance there before delivering the kill shot to the fingers of Nicole Matthews. And now Nicole locking her up. Smack to the midsection. And there's that mat wrestling from Nicole that we saw on display in that Daniel Makabe match that you were talking about earlier, Jordan.
Maybe the most versatile talent on the entire NEW roster is Nicole Matthews.
And an opponent like Sumie Sakai just might bring out every single weapon in her arsenal.
Now, interesting to note that Sumie Sakai also has a very deep and extensive MMA background. We could see this turn into a grapple fest real quick.
As Nicole, in something of a surfboard stretch, just trying to apply a sleeper hold on top of it. Sumie able to break out, but she did take some damage in the process.
Nicole keeping it on the mat, looking for a bow and arrow here.
Had her hands right in the face of Sumie Sakai, which perhaps prompted referee Colton G to start a 5 count.
Now, something we haven't really mentioned about Nicole Matthews as well is there's a vicious streak there, which really gives her the edge in a lot of her matches. I think we might see that come into play here. I mean, we already did. She was just raking the face of Sumie Sakai in that bow and arrow.
Only beloved in Vancouver, Nicole Matthews. And I think that speaks to what you're talking about there, Jordan.
That joint manipulation, just wrenching at the fingers, trying to take away the grapple game of Sumie Sakai.
I hate to make too many hockey analogies over the course of the evening, but it's a little bit like when you have a pest player. You love it when it's your guy, maybe not so much the other side. Nicole Matthews is exactly like that in Vancouver. The Alex Burrows of women's wrestling, perhaps. A kick to the spine of Sumie Sakai.
I wouldn't necessarily say the Alex Burrows. We didn't see her bite any of those fingers.
Nah, that's true. But if she did, no one in Vancouver would blame her.
Fine with it.
Yeah. Look the other way when it's your guy. Or gal, as the case may be.
Mahi Stroll cradle from Nicole Matthews here. Quick pinning combination.
Nicole bringing Sumie back to her feet. Some big strikes.
Double chops to the neck of Nicole Matthews.
Chops right to the ear, basically. As Nicole might not be able to hear what's happening right now, but she sure can feel it. Sumie now going for a cover. Just a 2 count. She thought maybe might have been the 3, but not making her case with quite the authority as Taryn from accounting did a little earlier tonight.
Taryn from accounting convinced me it was 3.
Big drop kick there from Sumie Sakai as now she's on the advantage, taking the upper hand. And Nicole perhaps caught reeling a little bit here after thinking that maybe this might go a little bit easier given the size advantage she enjoyed through the early going.
Sumie Sakai looking for another attack from the middle rope here.
Matthews able to catch her. Oh!
Big fall away slam from Nicole Matthews, demonstrating that she definitely has the power advantage in this match.
She was literally flexing moments ago. Sometimes people figuratively flex, Jordan. That was a figurative and literal flex on the part of Nicole Matthews, who just dropped Sumie Sakai right on her head with a suplex. Nicole looking for a cover, but Sumie able to get back in it. Nicole now rolling into a crossface.
Oh, with a bit of a cravat lock on the lower jaw there of Sumie Sakai.
And unfortunately, rolling out of that pin attempt, Sumie just a little too close to the ropes for Nicole to perhaps work that to the advantage she was hoping, but she'll kick the ropes in frustration. And we are seeing something of that dark side of Nicole Matthews come out as this match continues.
She used 3 of those 5 counts right there. I think as this match is going to go on, you're going to see her use 4 and 4.5.
Maybe even a 4.9 at some point.
Oh, just a pie face to Sumie Sakai, toying with her, but you don't want to do that to Sumie Sakai.
The disrespect to a legend of the game as Sumie Sakai finding her fire. What a shot that was. Just trading blows back and forth in the middle of the ring, and Nicole Matthews says, bring it right back. Headbutt from Nicole, and she looks just as rattled by it as Sumie Sakai does, but Sakai able to catch her at the ropes before Nicole returns the favor at the opposite side of the ring. Sumie again, shot to the jaw.
Both these competitors matching shot for shot here.
And that temper is flaring from Nicole Matthews at the moment. You can see the frustration on her face mounting. Oh, she's certainly happy after that maneuver as Matthews goes for a cover to end this and punch her ticket to the finals. Not so lucky.
And we talk about Nicole Matthews in this women's title tournament. Let's not forget the impressive showing she had in the chase for the championship tournament back at NEW 3, falling short in the semifinals to Elliott Tyler, but also defeating the #1 ranked NEW wrestler at the time, Artemis Spencer, in the quarterfinals.
Absolutely. And, you know, we talked about Artie perhaps being the uncrowned champion heading into that tournament. Nicole in a very similar spot, headed for the women's title. She has to take that result that she dished out as something of a parable for the situation she could find herself in here. Now a roll up. Sumie nearly pulled it off. Tough to call it an upset with the experience of a Sumie Sakai, but out of nowhere, Sakai on the advantage.
Sumie Sakai hit the smash mouth. She has won countless matches with that move. Sumie Sakai in the finals.
And this crowd is stunned. They thought Nicole Matthews had her name all but etched in on that NEW women's title belt, but it's Sumie Sakai who will move on to the championship round, taking on the winner of Casey Spinelli versus Taya Valkyrie. That just goes to show anything can happen in an NEW ring, including a massive Nicole Matthews upset.
Nicole Matthews adhering to the code of honor, handshake and a hug for Sumie Sakai, an absolute legend in the world of professional wrestling.